is 5:30. Jamie is on his way. He's stuck in traffic in the big city of Greensburg, so if we'll please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. The time being 5:30 p.m. The meeting of the Greensburg Board of Works is called to order at this time. Please silence all electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Amy, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Rodney King.
Present.
Glenn Tebby.
Here.
Karen D. Rust. Here. And Jamie Kane.
You all have received a copy of the minutes from January 11, 2022. Are there any edits, additions, or corrections? If not, we'll take a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Dee.
Second.
Second by Rodney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. And the first item under new business, there being no old business, Zeke Smith with the portable lift station diesel generator. Good evening, Zeke.
Good evening, Board, Mayor. You should have some documents in front of you regarding our new potential purchase of our portable diesel generator to support our lift stations here in the city of Greensburg. Our old generator is about 40 years old. As you can imagine, 40 years old is tough to get parts. We've had some mechanical issues recently, and it's been tough to get that thing repaired. So we're kind of behind the eight ball in getting this new one into our department. Currently, our current generator can only be pulled by one of our vehicles, which is our crane truck, which is the biggest truck in our fleet. So we're kind of handicapped there as far as what can kind of move this generator around and take it from lift station to lift station. It's actually too big for a couple of the lift stations that we currently utilize it for. We can get it in and out of there, but in an emergency event, it's quite difficult, and we're not very efficient in doing so. We found out recently during this kind of severe weather event was we can't keep it outside because it doesn't have an enclosure. So with ice buildup and things like that, we can't start it or move the controls to even get it started, to even utilize it during like a power outage. So part of the reasons why I'm kind of looking at a new one. So what the new generator would do for us is essentially make us more efficient in responding to some of these emergency events. Smaller, so every truck in our fleet can actually utilize as far as pulling it, kind of navigating it through the city. It would have an enclosure, so we could actually be strategic in placing it at a lift station if there were some sort of severe weather coming at us. And pull around, make us just more responsive in like an emergency situation. So, any questions regarding the generator itself?
Is this in our capital improvement plan?
It is in our budget. So.
You got two options here. What are you looking at?
We were thinking the very top option, which kind of comes with pretty much, that's what we need to satisfy all of our needs.
So that was option 1 on the sheet.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's not a significant difference when you're talking this not much money, but $5,000. But that budget does cover the total of option number 1, correct?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Zeke? This is one of the weak links in our assessment we went through pre-ice storm was generator capacity for lift stations. So it's actually timely before, but unfortunately we survived. So, any other questions? If not, we'd take a motion to purchase option 1 on your list of $78,322.
So moved. Second.
Motion's made by Glenn, second by Rodney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, Police Chief Mike McNealy. We're going to move medical retirement of K9 Echo up to the top because they are here with us this evening.
Good evening, Board. The first thing I'm going to talk about tonight, I'm actually just going to read the letter that I gave to you. It's just going to be a little easier to do it that way. Respected Board members, it's with great sadness that I propose to you the medical retirement of K9 Echo from the police force. Echo was born in March of 2017 and joined the police department in 2018. She was a rescued dog from an animal shelter in Indianapolis area and was given to the Ultimate Canine as a potential work dog because of her immense ball drive. When we first met Echo, she had no police training at all. She was partnered with Sergeant Chris Bridges, who's here with us tonight, who was with Echo for her entire police career. She and Sergeant Bridges participated in 898 hours of training. Echo was trained in drug detection, article searches, and tracking. Echo was used in the arrest of 62 offenders for 72 different drug charges. Echo was very friendly and has participated in countless demonstrations, meet and greets, and community events. Echo suffered a right partial ACL tear in May of 2019 and another possible tear in,
Iliopsis.
Thank you, strain in September of 2021. She has recently begun to show favor in her right rear limb. We had Echo checked out by her veterinary, Dr. Michelle Sweet, at Greensburg Veterinary Clinic. Dr. Sweet's opinion was that Echo can still have a good quality of life in retirement, but she is not able to adequately manage training and police dog duties. There is a surgery that is available for Echo to return to work, but the surgery would be approximately $7,000 with no guarantee of success. Dr. Sweet also had a list of medicines to help with the treatment. With all the information provided to us and with the counsel of the mayor, we're proposing the medical retirement of K9 Echo and her transfer of ownership to Sergeant Chris Bridges to live out her life. And I had attached the transfer of ownership, which I've had the legal counsel look over. Any questions?
Let me just say thanks. Thanks to Echo and Trophy Fitness as well.
Thank you, guys.
Dr. King, you did have a question for me earlier about a canine orthopedic surgeon, and that was the exact surgery that Dr. Sweet had recommended, and it would have been through that surgeon. It was the same price that was quoted as well as the surgery.
Thank you for checking that.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Are you, Sergeant Bridges, are you okay with the circumstances that Echo has been checked out and that she is healthy enough to come with you, that if there's any future problems within the next month or so on, that you're going to be able to take care of?
Yes, yes. Dr. Sweet, like Chief explained and everything, a lot of house dogs, when they do something, they have a lot of meds available to put water in the joints and also pain med regimen. The issue with her being a service dog in that line of work is with that tennis ball, she blocks all that out and she don't care if her legs are dragging behind her. So it wouldn't work doing this line of work to put her on any kind of regimen because she would just keep re-injuring it to the point of there would be no fixing it or quality of life after this point. But yes, she's been part of my family since day one. As he explained, she was a rescue, so she came from a good home. They just couldn't tend to her when they moved. She was living a good life in Carmel, so she was a house dog, but she was just very special. So that's how she lives with us, is she's been part of my kid's life since she's been with us and everything.
Well, thank you for giving her a good life, and thank you for undertaking his responsibility.
Of course, thank you.
Anything else? If not, would entertain a motion for a retirement for K9 Echo and a transfer of ownership to Sergeant Chris Bridges. Motion's been made by Rodney, seconded by Dee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed. Sergeant Bridges, thank you for taking on the opportunity. Thank you for the years of service. K9 Echo, thank you for all your work to help it all back. That's it. You can play ball now, forever.
Thanks, board. We moved that forward because these are her shift partners who are actually on duty tonight, so.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Be safe. Next item, purchase of new firearms.
Yeah, so both the purchases we're going to be talking about tonight with me have already been approved by the council using the General Obligation 21 Fund. So the first one is the purchase of new firearms. The letter in the summary I gave to you guys kind of highlighted that we are nearing the end of life in the service pistols that we have now. What we're doing is we're transitioning to a different model, which allows us to mount a red dot optic on the top of the slide. In doing so, it will increase accuracy, shot accountability, and decrease the amount of time for a follow-up shot if that were ever need to be taken. We looked at possibly just replacing the slide on the current pistols we have, but that did not seem cost-effective. Those slides run around $300, and we were probably going to be looking at then having to either rebuild the gun or transition out of them in the next few years anyway. So with that, I have the total cost of $26,355.86, and then the return $6,900 to $8,050, depending on the buyback amount that we're able to get through one of the local dealers that I mentioned. And that, again, is all covered through the General Obligation Fund. But I would entertain any questions from the information that I've sent you.
What caliber of weapon is this?
It would be a Glock 45 model in 9mm caliber.
Okay. Slide, how many?
The magazine capacity would be 17.
Okay. Any possibility that the officers will need a second one?
No, all of our officers also are issued a model 26 Glock backup or off-duty pistol, which can accept the same magazine that the Glock 45 does, which is what our 17 does now. So there would not be a need for providing a second firearm for that reason.
Okay. Have the officers had the opportunity to use this weapon?
Yeah, we went down to our range here ourselves, the Sheriff's Department. There was a couple other agencies that came over. Glock came in along with one of the suppliers, Ray O'Haron, and put on a demonstration and a show for us, and then allowed us to do some shooting. I will tell you personally, I was ringing in 100-yard shots with a pistol, and that was, and I'm not joking. You can attest it actually happened. So I wouldn't want to take that shot on duty, but it builds your trust in your firearm and your trust in your shot accountability and your accuracy when you can step back to that distance and be able to hit it with a handgun.
I appreciate the homework you have done in looking at this. You've done a nice job.
Thank you.
My only, and I'm sure you guys just take care of, but aren't all guns registered with serial numbers and all that kind of thing?
Yes, during purchasing, yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so when these be bought back, they should ever get used by somebody else.
Sure.
There's no way it's going to be clear that this has been transferred and there's a new owner and it's no longer a responsibility of the Greensburg police or any individual policeman.
That's correct. They'll all go through the federal firearm licensing process through whichever local gun dealer we go through to get that buyback or that trade-in value.
I figured so, but I thought, doesn't hurt to ask the question.
Never hurts to ask.
Right now, they're registered to Greensburg Police Department?
Yes.
So if somebody, so you mentioned in your letter there was the option to buy their weapon back if the officer wants to do that.
Sure.
So then we'll still do the transfer of ownership.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. And then the transfer of ownership would be into their name, or to whoever purchases it from the gun store after for the trade-in. Yep.
Any questions? Take a motion to approve the purchase as presented for new firearms.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Dee,
Second.
second by Rodney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Next item is the door access system.
Yeah.
On the handguns, one, hope you don't ever have to use those, but I do appreciate all the information you share.
Thank you. I agree too. I hope we never have to use them as well. On the door purchases, again, this falls under the same bond obligation. This is the original door access system from when the building was built in 2005. Over time, that system has slowly been degrading to the point where anytime they try to access it, it crashes at this point. We still have access to our building. We just can't add users. We can't take users out. We can't change any timing on doors or anything like that. We can't even change our passcode to get into the building. So that's why we moved forward with this. I talked to some of the firemen who were involved in the transition at their station. They're very happy with the Honeywell system installed by H&B Systems, and that's why we reached out to him. The quote he gave us, I think, is in line with what I would expect. Actually, I thought it was a little less than what I expected it would be to put in a complete system, but it does account for using the same door locks as well as the same wiring that's already there.
It's in the budget.
This is not in the budget, no. That's why.
It's part of the general obligation bond spending plan that you all approved last month, the council approved last month. So
Okay, that's why I was just wondering where it's coming from.
Yep.
Sounds like it's needed. You know, seems like it's. What else you?
Chief, out of curiosity.
Yes, sir.
Third paragraph, it starts in May of 2005, they performed a site visit.
You know.
Is that date correct?
No, May of 2021, sorry.
Thank you. Just wanted to double check.
Yeah, thank you.
They've been in limbo a long time.
They were able to assure us we could use these same key fobs that we currently use, as well as add in more and different kinds, which we've not had the ability to do. Right now, we have one that's a guy that's carrying around a broken one.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, we'll take a motion to approve the purchase as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Glenn, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Next item is policy updates.
All right, the very last thing, the policy updates, we began in February of last year and completed them February of this year. I think that's the right dates. We are to the point now where our policy board within the department has looked at our policies. I've looked at the policies over them and approved all of them, and it's now to the point where if you guys want to look at them next, or do we want to send them to legal counsel next before you get them, I just need to know which way you want to go with that, and then as well as how do you want them in paper or in electric version. They are, I'm sorry?
Electronic.
Electronic, okay. It would be
I don't
about...
want to touch them electrically, no, thank you.
And I can do both. It'd be about 500 pages.
Well, I suppose you're going to have to take the electronic, but that seems to be the most practical way.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Most practically, it would make sense to do it electronically and rather than trying to copy 2,500 pages. So,
Do you want Mike to work with Chris a little bit? I don't think we want you reviewing 500 pages of policy, probably. You would probably like to review 500 pages of policy, but maybe touch on some of the big changes, and then you all can review them in high level.
it seems to be more prudent.
Did these come through the, what's that software called?
Lexipol?
Yes.
Yeah, we worked with Lexipol on this, and what they did was they took our old policies, and then they had some personnel that went through our old policies, and anything that was not replicated in the new policy, they added as a reference for us, and then we had to go through and look at our old policy versus our new policy, and then decide which made the most sense for our department, as well as they offered a lot of other input into it. It's very thorough, very impressive. All of our instructors and the heads of our different programs within the department were part of this process, and they also appreciated the thoroughness of the policies themselves.
I request if because it's going to be electronic, would you make sure that either it's highlighted or italics or some way in which we know where the changes are? I mean,
Yes.
identifying the changes or somehow highlighted so that we can look at that in comparison to what, not necessarily what was, but what's proposed.
Sure.
We're not going to, as many different policies as there are, we're not going to know the subtlety differences unless you point them out, and we won't know what they're changed from, but it may not make any difference to know what they're changed from, but just know what they're changed to. We could.
I will do my best. That's a lot. There's a lot of them. However, I will tell you a majority of the old policies we did not use because Lexipol's were so much more thorough and so more in line with policing. Lexipol is known across the country with public safety. But I'll do my best to highlight the ones.
Maybe you do the reverse.
Okay.
If the old is less work in terms of what you have to
Sure.
Highlight or identify, then do it that way.
Okay.
Either way, for me, it doesn't make any difference, just so I can know see the change.
Okay.
Is that all right with the rest of my colleagues?
Anything else for us?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Up next, Fire Chief Nathan Stoermer. We've got, first item is approval of destruction, sale, equipment.
As we hit substantial completion on our conversion of a pickup truck to a light rescue truck, I have a camper shell and a rusted out Chevy 8-foot bed that I need to dispose of, as well as some interior seats that we no longer use. I have one gentleman wanting to buy for like $50 one of the seats. The others have no takers. They would probably go to scrap. I'm just seeking permission to go ahead and remove those. The camper shell and the pickup truck have been sitting outside with this recent weather, so that's done them no favors either. Take any questions on
Yeah,
that?
given that low of an amount, you're fine. It's essentially junk value.
Yeah, and the bed's probably going to go to scrap, so because it's all rusted out. Half of it's rusted anyway. So if anybody would do anything with it, they'd have to cut that side out. And there's probably more work involved than there is to actually just bolt it on there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any necessity for a legal process to open it to public bid or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
give it the one guy $50.
I just more wanted to get it out of the way.
Deposit that money into your fire training fund.
Yes,
Is that reasonable?
that's where usually scrap cash goes is to that fund.
Any questions for the chief on that? If not, we'll take a motion to approve the sale of the seat for $50 and everything else to scrap, funds to be deposited in the fire training fund.
Second.
Motion's been made by Dee, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Next, update from the fire station task force.
So to keep this simple, you all should have received a memo in your packet discussing kind of where the task force has been, who's on it, and what's been going on with that. Quick brief, we've met twice. We've had some good topics, some good conversation. The task force did decide to move off-site and explore looking at other options other than the Ireland Street site to build a fire station. As we work through that, we've engaged financial partners, we've engaged council to begin working on things of that nature. As we move forward with this, I have typed up and have ready for submission to not only the paper, but also to architecture firms. I have two requests for proposals. One is for design services, and the other one is to do a build, operate, transfer if the group should choose to go that way. The information that you have in your packet should answer most of your questions. It is my recommendation, if you have any questions, obviously we'll answer those first, but I am asking for a vote of confidence to allow the task force to begin land negotiations releasing the RFPs to start that type of work, whether it's design or others, and then move forward with a delivery method of the BOT method of build, operate, transfer for this project. This is pretty much the exact same thing that I'll tell the council tonight, because one's approving, one's paying. It's just easier to get approvals across the board. That way we have the approval of everybody, and then each board can work how that is. There will be a small fee, probably have to be negotiated with architecture firms once we start seeing drawings and things like that. There is a little bit of money that was somewhat earmarked for that in the general obligation bonds through your spending plan, as well as the fire department does. Being early in our budget year, we do have funds within reason to offset some of those costs as well. Mayor, have I missed anything?
Perfect, thank you.
Any questions? I would hope that Glenn is keeping you guys abreast of what is going on.
Well, we have tried, but
Yes.
we haven't conferred with each and every
Okay.
person. So,
Question for Glenn. Having been part of this committee, do you feel comfortable moving forward with his requests?
yes, the proposal or the request that the chief is making is a unanimous support, has unanimous support of the members of the committee. And, you know, not the most important, we're more functionary after the fact. The council is the one that's going to be the critical, have the critical decision here, and we try to make sure that council members have been up to speed on this all the way through. And again, looking at this, my perspective is this is really looking forward for in the best interest of the city long term. You know, it's not necessarily the easiest step, but there's no easy step. I mean, the other options are not really very practical, and so this one is the most practical, as well as it's going to require some work and commitment. But the other would require the same.
And Councilman Emsler is here too. He is on our task force as well if another voice is necessary.
Thanks for the question.
Any other questions for the chief, or Glenn and I are the representatives of this board, and then Councilman Fleetwood and Rick Emsler are the council representatives, and then the chief and firefighter Matt Shorten are the fire department's reps. So we've had a pretty good group so far. If not, we take that motion, vote of confidence to send out the RFPs pending council approval and kind of get us moving in that direction. Obviously, we would have to wait on, this is just the first step to saying we want to at least explore this in a more robust fashion. So would entertain a motion of support headed that direction.
So moved.
Second, with the proviso that it's council's.
Sure. We can't go anywhere without their money. Motion's been made by Rodney, seconded by Glenn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. The last item, we have terrazzo floor in the north restrooms of this building that were not refinished during construction. It was one of those items that were kind of just overlooked. And they have a wax finish on top of them. Your proposal is to sand all of that off and then put a more appropriate type surface back on top. We don't have to tear them up or anything. It's just a refinish. And this is something that we've been kind of looking at, but it just never kind of got done. And I would entertain a motion to approve getting those refinished. They look a little shabby in the restrooms up there. So it was a cognizant decision not to replace those floors during the remodel, but now it's time to fix them. So any questions I can answer on that?
It says- Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
You had two options on here, so maybe I'm confused. What's the difference? I mean, it's significant in cost, So is the second option maybe a potential add-on, is that what that is? Or am I looking at this wrong?
Oh, option 2, yes.
Yeah.
So that is, it has the vinyl base, this room does, but like in the other offices, it has the stick-on vinyl base. And in order to refinish the floor, they have to pull that off. So they would put it back on. We have extra in stock from the remodel, so that is for them to do it so that we don't have to get a separate contractor.
And my question was, in terms of paying for this, is that something that's still going to come out of the remodel cost?
Yeah, out of the building bond.
Yeah.
That's the fund that's still available. And Ron's still working on our parking lot. This is my public reminder to Ron. So
I've been wondering about that too,
it's,
Mayor.
that's right, Ron. People are wondering about that. But yeah. Yeah. So we're working.
I'm smiling.
Yeah, we're still working on that. So that fund still exists, and it still has money in it for that. Any other questions? If not, we'd entertain a motion to hire Midwest Floor Restore to do that work. Motion's been made by Dee.
Second.
Seconded by Glenn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay. You have a copy of the claims here that were provided for you upon arrival. Hopefully you had time to look at those before the meeting. Any edits, additions, or corrections to those?
I have a couple of additions to those that have come in just at the last part of the day here, but it's also ones that we can't get an invoice for necessarily. Sarah has 5 liens she needs to release from mowing liens. Is Sarah here? No. Oh, that's right. And so obviously each of those being $25, that would need to be $125 out of the building fund or building and zoning. And then I have 2 surety bonds for anyone who works with money in the city, and then also 2 ordinances that need to be recorded, making another total of $100 that need to go to the recorder for the county. So I don't know if we need a motion for that, but
Those would be included in your claims now. Anything with the addition of the 225? Any other questions? If not, we take a motion to approve the claims as presented with those 2 added items.
Moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Glenn, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay, finally, a thank you to all of our departments, street, fire, police, water, wastewater, 911, all the people here in City Hall that were very flexible, worked long hours, slept on cots in our facilities to make sure that essential services continue to operate and function. I am happy to report that I think we had a very successful few days with limited emergency calls, and for that we thank citizens for abating and abiding, I guess, by the rules of the road and the travel restrictions and EMA that all sort of just kept everybody moving in the same direction. So I thank you to all of our partners that made that happen. Anything else to come before the board? If not, take a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made by Dee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Thank you, everyone.